Everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the second edition of Digital Communications Support Hours with Houston in Action. I'm here with Nelson, our lead for all things video, who will be presenting today, and also Evan on web and data visualization, mapping, and other things. So hopefully everyone's here to spend some time learning a little bit about some of the video things that that Nelson's compiled for us today and been supporting folks with for the past few months. And then also just bring in your regular everyday digital communications challenges and questions and answers. Yeah. This is one of 6. We had our last one last Wednesday, and we'll continue to have this session every Wednesday or at 1 o'clock on Facebook Live, at least almost through the end of May. You can find out more, the full schedule of everything that we have coming up at the link here, HoustonInAction.org/support hours. With that, I'm gonna retire to the comment section, and I'll be here chiming in as we get to questions and answers, but I'll turn it over to, I'll make this one last point. So one of the sessions is not defined. Thank you for this prompt, subtle prompt, Nelson. One of these sessions is not defined, so we need your feedback on what we should have in the 5th session. I think that's May 15th. So check out the forum. I'll drop it in the link in the comments, both of those links in the comments, so that you can give us your feedback and thoughts on what we should cover for that 5th event. Yeah, without further ado, thanks for those that are joining. We can't see you because we're using StreamYard. We can't see who you are. So as you join, if you just can drop your name in the comments, and if you want to share what group you're with, it's nice to see who's out there. Yeah. With that, I will hand it over to Nelson. Thanks, Nelson.
All right, great. Sure thing. So here's the agenda really quick. We do have a short amount of time, and it's a lot to cover, so I'll go kind of fast. As questions are popping up, maybe I go through something too quickly, go ahead and drop it into the comment section, and we'll address it there, okay? First 20 minutes, I'll talk about some really cool video stuff, and then the last 40, we'll open it up for Q&A. All right, we're going to focus on video today. If you don't want to shoot your own video, obviously having content available to you to reuse is always a great way to go. So if you go here, fresh content, HoustonInAction.org/fresh content, you can have a lot of cool stuff to mess with that's already made for you, okay? And here's a Census Toolkit as well. Monique, how's it going? Good to see you here. So we want to upgrade your video skills today. In the comment, for those of you that are already here, could you go, hey Ruth, how's it going? Could you go ahead and type in if you're already making videos on your phone? This is important. Are you already using your phone, or are you using another camera like a DSLR and all that? So go ahead and type in what you're doing already and what has kind of been working, and we'll work it into the conversation. We're going to talk about equipment needed first, then some of the filming and editing tips that I have for you. And we'll go over some free software because everybody likes free stuff, and the Q&A. What equipment do I need? Okay, so a lot of us already have these. These are awesome smartphones, right? So if you don't have a DSLR, this is your best tool right now. Hi, Jessica. How are you, Ruth? iPhone 7 Plus, awesome phones. So once you have this, let's focus on this because everybody has one of these. One of the really important things you got to worry about is audio and lighting. Two things you have to worry about. So let's jump into some tips for capturing great video with your smartphones. Tripod or a gimbal, right? So Monique says that she's using a computer. You can also use a computer. So steady video is the best thing right now. A lot of people are using the computer and using webcams like the one I'm using right now to make their videos. These are becoming more popular. You'll see a montage of a lot of videos, and they're all shot from different people in their homes using the laptop. You can also use this. I love, for stable video, gimbals. Hi, Diana Williams. How are you? She's using a phone. So for phones, these gimbals are awesome. And I'm going to do a little show and tell today, okay? So I have all of my cool gear here, and this is one of the best ones that I love. You can get them for about $100. DJI has some, okay? And I'll have a link also. So this is always great if you want to do some moving around stuff. Let's say you are in your home and you're able to walk around and do things. So yeah, these are awesome. Get close to your phone. So a lot of the times, if we're not using a microphone and you do want to do a piece where you're talking on your phone, proximity is your best friend. Make sure you're close to it, okay? One, you'll be able to get a nice close-up of your face, right? So that's always great. And two, the audio is going to be a lot better. So the closer you are to your microphone on the phone itself, the better it is for people to hear. So it's always really, really good to be nice and close to it. Record in your highest setting. That's the next thing. Your phone has really, really powerful video capturing software. Dive into it. Look at your settings, see where your settings are. Make sure it's shooting at its highest capability, 1080p or 4K, even though video like what you're watching right now, it's only 720p, which is a lot smaller. These 1080p phones and 4K phones, if you shoot in that resolution first and then you spit it out on something smaller, it's still coming out better. So just be mindful of how much space it will take up on your phone. If you have an older phone, smaller space in your phone, then don't shoot 4K, shoot 1080, okay? But 4K gives you really nice, crisp motion. And also check out your settings. So a lot of these phones have slow motion and hyperlapse settings. Super, super cool to do, and they work great as B-roll. So let's say you're talking about something and you don't want to have your face on the video the whole time. You can overlay on top of your audio, overlay some hyperlapse, which is like a time lapse, right? That's stabilized, and or slow motion. And a lot of your phones already have this available. So that really spruces up your video a lot. People love it. It's eye-catching and it's engaging. Audio is what we're going to talk about next. It's super vital. I love talking about audio. These are some of my favorite mics to use, okay? So these are called Rode microphones. If you do want to step up your video and you only have a smartphone, this is the next thing you want to get, audio. And what's really important is that you get one of these adapters, okay? Because this lets you have your microphone input and then your speaker, your headphones, okay? So you can listen to what you're recording and you can go ahead and put in. A lot of people make the mistake, they only buy this, they only buy the mic. And if you don't read carefully, a lot of these mics, because of this connector, will not work on your phone. You need this adapter, okay? So double check. Some mics are made for cell phones specifically, but this one is more made for cameras. So what I do, instead of using it on my camera, I bought my adapter, which is about $10. And I go ahead and connect it to my phone, and then I have awesome audio with it. You can attach a tripod to it, okay? So these are super cheap. They're really great. You can get them in your local stores, your local camera stores, okay? And you can always just prop your microphone on there, and you can use it either on your phone or on your computer. Just double check that you can use this connection on your computer. Not every microphone like this works with your computer. If you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my computer and have better Zoom meetings. And Jessica's asking what the adapter is called. And these are called TRRS adapters. So if Evan, if you want to type that in, or Chris, TRRS adapters, okay? And you'll see exactly, and then you'll see the double, let's see if it'll get it to focus. It'll have a little headphone icon and a microphone icon. So it's not really focusing on there, but you guys get the idea. If you have more questions, go ahead, and afterwards we can talk about it. The mic that I'm using right now is for this computer is actually a USB mic, okay? So that's this right here, right? So these connect directly to your computer. So if your goal is to have better audio for your Zoom meetings, then Google USB microphone. And those are specifically designed for your laptop, and you'll get the best audio for it. And we'll dive into some pickup patterns later on in the presentation, okay? Another solution, by the way, this was a shotgun mic, I forgot to mention, called the shotgun microphone, because it picks up things mainly in the front and it rejects noises in the back. So it's great for noisy environments. This is the handheld, okay? So this is a handheld recorder, which is also a good solution. The thing with this is later you'll have to take out the audio and then sync it up with your video, okay? So this is recording completely separate of your camera. If your camera shuts down for whatever reason, this will keep recording audio. So it's great, but it is an extra step you have to worry about, okay? Let's move on. So we'll talk about lighting. Lighting is super important. These are some of my favorite little lights, okay? So these are ICANN lights, and they have really neat, they're rechargeable, so you don't have to like worry about, you know, buying a whole bunch of batteries and all that. If you want to use natural light, never shoot with a window behind you, always to the side. And if you can draw the shade down a little bit, that's always great. You should be the brightest thing in the scene. If your backdrop is brighter than you, then there's a problem. And the eye will naturally want to go to the brighter thing. So try to have light on you versus on the backdrop. And also another tip is light directly on you doesn't look all that great. But if you bounce it off of something, so I'm bouncing it off of the white wall, it'll give me a nice even fill versus a harsh look, okay? So yes, get a light, but do not you don't have to always point it at you, okay? It's almost better to bounce it off of something big, something white, and you'll get a nicer look. Also, have a second screen. So if you have a screen that's kind of close to you right here, bring up something white. And that's a great way to also get a little bit of extra light on your face if you're trying to do things on Zoom meetings, okay? So some of the different types of lights, LEDs, like I talked about, that's these. Fluorescents are like the ones that usually are in office buildings, and those don't look all that great. And incandescent are the old school type bulbs that have a very warm feel. So incandescent and LEDs are great. I like LEDs just because they're cooler and they don't heat up, right? And they're just a little more modern. You don't have to pull too much power to light something up. We're going kind of fast, but we'll get to some questions, okay? So editing and software apps, once you do have all your footage, what do you do with it? I think this is one of the biggest issues that people have, especially those with action cameras. It's always rough to have loads and loads of footage and then nothing to do with it. So these are some of the free ones that I recommend, right? That I think are pretty robust and pretty accessible to everybody. Imovie, if you have an iPhone, sometimes you have to re-download it. I think in the past session, we were talking about some iPhones don't have it activated on their phone. So just re-download every now and then. Hi, Ines, how are you? And that's a very powerful video editing software that you can take your project from your phone or your iPhone and then continue editing it on your Mac. So iMovie is great. Adobe Rush is for both Android phones and iPhones. So that's free with a sign up. Once you create an Adobe ID account, you can go ahead and use Adobe Rush. If you already have Adobe, the Adobe Suite, then that would be free. The Quick app by GoPro is great. If you have a GoPro, the Quick app is a nice editing app to use, and it's free as well. And it's pretty fast. It has these automated features it'll kind of try to pull together a piece. If you have a 3-minute video and it's just a bunch of B-roll, it'll try to piece together the most interesting parts and shrink it down into whatever time you tell it to. So it is fast. It's a fast editing program to use on your phone. And if you have a GoPro, it's a plus, right? Security and privacy. So I'm telling you about all these apps. I always want to say it's important for you to be aware that it will ask you for permissions to your gallery, okay? So anything you have, if it's a personal device, all these apps that you're downloading, double check that you're okay with the permissions you're going to give it. If you download Adobe Rush, it's going to ask you to access all of your pictures and videos on your phone. Okay. So make sure you're okay with that, right? Or your organization is okay with that. Because the last thing you want is privacy or security issues whenever you're trying to make a video. Okay. So keep that in mind as you're going. Hello, Ruth. How are you? Software for your laptop. Let's say you do want to take your editing up a notch and edit it on your laptop itself, right? HitFilm Express and VSDC. Those are two very popular editing programs for your laptop that are absolutely free. A lot of YouTubers are using HitFilm Express and VSDC. So those are very popular. Adobe Premiere, another one of the Adobe apps, is probably one of those industry standard apps. So if you really want to take up your editing, Adobe Premiere is great, and DaVinci Resolve is like even another step further. It's very pro if you want to color a lot of your footage and you want to shoot in like RAW or something. Then DaVinci Resolve is one of those programs that allow you to do all of that. It's a little overwhelming sometimes. So once you have your video done and ready with great music, I think music is really, really important. A lot of people focus on it. Here's some sites that are great for royalty-free music, right? freemusicarchive.org, absolutely free. Artists upload their tracks to that site, and you can download them and use them absolutely free. I always give them credit in the description of my post, just to be nice, right? And you want to give them credit. If you can donate. Audiojungle.net, they have very affordable music. It's a little more professional sounding. It's easier to search through these with keywords. So if you want something inspirational and energetic, Audio Jungle, it's easy for it to pop up, and it'll tell you how much, usually between $10 and $50. That's what the songs are, and you actually get a license for it. So you'll get a text document that says, yeah, you can use this song on YouTube or on whatever other app or site you want to use it on. And there's a bunch of other new music sites available. I like hitting up my friends. If you have a musician friend, hit them up, ask them if you can use their music. That's always the best way to go. But a great piece of music under some video, it really, really takes it to the next level. Or if you have a great video, but the music isn't there, I mean, you're not getting the most out of it, and it is noticeable, even though the majority of people online are listening with it on mute, just in case they do hit the volume button and they do want to hear you, then have great music under there. We'll jump through this really quick. We're almost out of time for the 20-minute info part. So streaming, let's say you do want to stream and you're doing a lot of Zoom meetings now or Zoom presentations. Webcams are a great way. Some laptops, they have built-in cameras. But hello, Deborah, how are you? But webcams are pretty easy, probably the easiest way to step up your game on the Zoom presentations. So they're plug and play. A lot of these are you just plug them in, and your laptop already knows that that's what you want to use. I'm using a Logitech Brio right now. But they also have mics, right? So they also pick up your audio, so it increases your audio a bit, and it has a better resolution. But you have to let it know if you're using one of these mics that you want to use the microphone instead of the mic from the camera. But it's pretty easy. USB mics are great. If you want to pick a USB mic, some of the things to consider, there's two types, condenser versus dynamic. This is a dynamic mic, okay? The condenser, I'm sorry, this is a condenser mic. The dynamic mics are like the traditional ones that you hold like this, the handheld ones. That's usually the form factor that they take, and they do tend to reject noise better than these condenser ones. These condenser ones pick up more room noise, but you can adjust that with the polar pattern. So the polar pattern is what part of the microphone is picking up the sound, right? So with this one, you can tell I have the cardioid version pickup pattern on right now, which is only picking up audio from the front. That means if I turn it this way, it's not going to pick up that much. So any typing that I'm doing to the back, in the back of the microphone, it's not going to pick it up. If I face it forward, it picks up my voice really, really great. So when you're buying one of these microphones, what are you going to use it for? Are you going to have interviews? If you're going to have interviews, go ahead and get an omnidirectional mic that has an omnidirectional pickup pattern, because that means everything is going to get picked up. And these are the pickup patterns that I'm talking about right now. So the cardioid one is the one that I have mine set on. It's rejecting audio in the back. So that's why you get the pickup pattern in the front, rejects audio in the back. If you're doing interviews, make sure your microphone can do figure eights or omni. Omni, if you're going to go ahead and do something with, hey, Anna, how are you? If you're going to do something with a group, if you're doing group recordings on Zoom, go ahead and make sure that your USB mic has omnidirectional pickup patterns. And some of these mics have multiple ones that you can switch from. Or the figure eight if you're doing interviews, or if it's just you, go ahead and have it on here. If it's just you and you have one that's omnidirectional, you're going to pick up everything around. So if I switch this one to omni, things behind it get picked up. My keyboard's going to get picked up. Oops, I just messed up my presentation. So it's important to see which kind of pickup patterns you want to have on your microphone. Mine has multiple ones. Okay, so that was really, really fast, but hopefully you're able to get some items from there, some little bits of information that can be useful as we're obviously transitioning into this period of time where everything is on Zoom, or everything is on a Google Hangout, or everything is at home. And hopefully this empowers you to be able to make better videos and get your messaging across. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in to the comments section and we'll address it. So what digital communication challenges do you have? We want to go ahead and get some specific questions up.
And Nelson, maybe while people are formulating their challenges, to share with us, if you want to see if there were any questions from your presentation so far.
Yeah, any questions, everybody? So as you all are thinking about the questions, let me show you all some more goodies that I have, right? These are called articulating arms, and they're probably some of the best tools that you can have. They're pretty cheap, right? And you can attach either lights to them so that you can go ahead and have your lighting up, or you can attach a microphone to it, or you can attach your camera to it, right? So these are really versatile, and if you're shooting things yourself, I would recommend investing in some of these little clamps, articulating arms. You can Google it.
Nelson, I know we've got a list of some recommended equipment and software. One of them we just shared the equipment list in the comments there. Are all the things that you covered today in there, or should we update those after the presentation?
No, everything that I've covered is there. So if you go to that link, we are constantly, well, I'll be updating that as well.
Cool. With
new information and different pricing also. We've put the prices on there. Sometimes the prices change. So that's always useful to have. So Francis asks, what tips do you have for lighting, best lighting for video for people? So I think the best lighting is lighting that isn't harsh. So if you can bounce lighting, I think to answer that, the best lighting would be bounced light. If you can't have something small like this, right? Like an LED, like iCan, these are about $35. And you bounce it off of something bright and white, I think that gives you the best lighting for video. Okay, so $35, and you can get some really decent things. There's also some ring lights, and what those ring lights do, they're super popular amongst influencer people. They just give you a nice little ring in your eye, and it's nice, and they work. And some of those are fluorescent, some of them are LEDs. So I think the best light is just bounced light, whatever you can get your hands on. Sometimes a lot of friends, like my dad, he loves flashlights for some reason. So he has one of these, okay? And it's like a magnet in the back. It has a little hook. It's a DeWalt thing, you know. Go to the garage, see if you find some kind of work light and bounce it off of something. It doesn't need to be like a professional video light. I think anything you can get your hands on that's a light, bounce it or put a shade on it, put it near you. You'll be great. Don't do direct lighting. Direct lighting looks too harsh, okay? Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, we had one also a little further back. What about stock video footage? Do you have any recommended sites for stock video?
Yeah, so that's a great question. For stock video, you'd be surprised. Let me see if I can show you all something here. So you can get stock video from different places. Shutterstock is one place, but it tends to be very expensive, right? So that's one of the issues. I'm trying to pull up my other screen here. So what I recommend is if you go to, like if you're using Canva, let me see, let me try to switch over to, sorry, this is one of the capture devices that you might need if you get a camera and you want to kind of input it. So Canva now has video templates. Okay, so you're looking at my Canva screen right here. For custom video, I mean, for stock videos, this is one place that you can kind of go, but it's more animated things, right? What we've found is that a lot of cities, they have their own sections that are galleries of stock footage that you can access, right? So Houston, this is Houston, visit HoustonTexas.com. If you go to visit HoustonTexas.com, in the media section under photo and B-roll gallery, okay? And let me just drop that in right here. You'll be able to see some really cool stock footage that they have of the city of Houston, right? So let's say you're working on a video for the city of Houston, you could download this and the city wants you to use it, okay? So this is a great place to go for free stock videos to make your videos look awesome if you're doing a presentation about Houston. And it gives you the options of what kind of quality to download it in. You could do scaled to 360, something small. You could do the original file. I always do full quality, but these are great resources for you to download stock video that looks top notch. Let me see, they have a couple different ones here. Yeah, see, look, these are aerials that they did a while back of Houston. So you can use these, you could just download them and use them on your video. A lot of cities have this. So if you want to do something in a different city, try to look for their tourism website, and they usually have these stock videos that they don't mind you using. Some of them require permissions, but this is the public gallery, so anybody can use it. If you want more specific things, I think you can send in a request. Hopefully that's helpful.
Cool, yeah. We got a couple more questions in the comments. I will switch them over. Ruth had a couple of questions. One was, any suggestions for keeping people framed properly while taking video or photo? Ruth claims that they don't have the eye for it, so.
Got it. Yeah, Ruth, no, that's totally cool and not uncommon. So if you go to your phone and if you go into your video setting, let's say you're going to shoot some video, there's something that is called grids, right? On my settings, I can bring up some grids. And one rule of thumb is that if you bring up these grids, here they go, they're called grid lines on mine. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, over here. Right, grid lines. So if you click on those grid lines so that you can, so they pop up when you're recording video, you'll see three, you could barely see them, but it divides everything up into thirds, right? So if you use the rule of thirds, that means that, let's say you're framing it up right now like this. The person, to make it appealing, should always be either here on this side, okay, with enough space behind you and more space in front of you, especially if they're facing this way during an interview. You'll see a lot of videos where the interviewers are talking this way and not necessarily at the camera. If they're talking this way, which is nice, always give them enough space in front of them, because if they're looking like this, it gives a sense of them being trapped, okay? So you want to give them enough lead space in the front some space in the back. You can give them a little bit of headroom. If you're doing close-ups, here's something to think about. The eye line should always be in the third, that upper third of the screen, okay? So if you're really, really close, the eye should still be here. You don't need to be close and then down here with headroom. Headroom isn't as important as your eye line being at the top third of the frame, okay? So you can cut off some hair versus being here, right? So this looks a little better. You can scoot back as well, right? If you scoot back, just keeping that eye line by the thirds. If you scoot back even more, see how here I'm really, really small in the frame. If I scoot myself up a little bit, you know, I get at that third, that upper third of the frame, and that usually looks great. So hopefully that helps when you're framing people.
Cool. Thank you. Random reference, Mr. Robot uses a inverse of the rule of thirds. Oh, yeah. They shoot people often very trapped.
Yeah, so
it's disturbing.
Exactly. I mean, they'll be shooting people like this.
Yeah, exactly.
And that does give you a sense of like you have nowhere to go, nowhere to see.
So we have another question from a different Ruth, but I love this question because I've been here before and I have my own solution for it, but I'm wondering what you suggest, Nelson. Can you demonstrate how to create a video clip from swagit.com like an HISD board meeting? So do you know swagit.com or do you know the scenario? So like, for instance, the city of Houston will put its videos on like a video server that's hosted by Swagit, I guess. Yeah, so it's just up online. It's streaming, but there's no option for downloading. I don't know if you have any tips or thoughts on that one.
Yeah, so there's workarounds, right? It's not perfect, but it's a workaround. One is to screen record the whole screen. So you'll go to the video you want. You'll open up QuickTime. So if you're on a Mac, I'm not sure if you're on a Mac or PC, but if you open up QuickTime, if you're on a Mac, and you hit screen record, you can maximize your screen of the video. You make it big, and then you start recording that, and then play the video, right? Once you get done, you could trim whatever ends you don't want. Let's say you were like readjusting the window, trim that. And that's one way, because it'll just screen record, screen grab the video itself, and then you'll be able to work with it. It's not perfect, it's not ideal, but it's one workaround. I think it's the easiest way. QuickTime. So I want to say it's a download for Windows as well, a free download.
Do you know if there's an equivalent that's native to Windows?
Windows Movie Maker might. I'm not 100% sure though. But I would download QuickTime, or double check with Windows Movie Maker if you can record your screen. It'll say screen record or screen capture. Yeah, cool.
I'm just Googling a quick how to.
Chris, how do you do it? Is there a different way that you might?
Oh gosh, it was a long, convoluted way. Not nearly as simple as what you suggested.
Yeah.
So don't do like Chris.
So another way, if you're a Chrome user, Chrome does have some plugins that, and this is a little more complicated. Chrome does have some plugins that'll let you download. They're like video downloaders. They work on some sites, not on others. A lot of people use it to download video from YouTube. So it's just a little app that pops up. It's called Video Downloader on Chrome. And you may be able to use that. But if they have a firewall, then no. I think that you just dropped the link on how to do it right there.
Cool. So we had another question. I was just getting this video downloader link for folks. That YouTube link is a link to how to screen capture using QuickTime. And I wish we could save these comments so we make sure to include them in the YouTube description. But I'll move to our next question for now. Ruth, you mentioned are the grid lines within the camera or the camera settings? I think, or within the camera or within the phone settings? I think they're usually within the camera settings.
Correct.
Nelson's nodding. And then we had another question about any tips for people who are just starting to use iMovie for iPhone. That one came from Nadia.
Yeah, so it depends on what you're trying to shoot, but when you start a project, I guess you film everything you want. My recommendation to make things easy is to only film what you have prepared. So don't film a long time as you're getting ready and you're putting your mic on and it's rolling. Go ahead and have everything ready. Start recording exactly what you want to keep. Try to be as close as you can to that, because once you bring that into iMovie, it'll keep you from having to trim too much, right? And it'll also keep the space on your phone freed up. So record only when you're ready. And absolutely the best thing, if you record and then you mess up and you have a bunch of takes, if you have a bunch of recordings of the same thing, start deleting them before you even start editing. It'll keep your phone freed up, because if your phone gets very full of videos, then it'll start showing it'll be sluggish, right, as you're editing on iMovie. I want to say that on iMovie, if you start a project on iMovie, you can finish it on your laptop. I want to say you can do that. So that's a really, really cool benefit. Some people don't like, I know Jessica, when she's working on iMovie on her phone, she hates the dragging. It's very hard for her to get it to make the cut right where she wants it. So she'll take the project, lay it out, start it in her phone, and then finish it up in her laptop. But yeah, let me know if there's anything specific though about iMovie that you want to cover. It's pretty intuitive on how it takes you from the beginning of a project to the end of it. And it also has some stock music, actually. So I forgot to mention that. Some of the stock music within the apps, they'll offer some free stuff. It's just, you'll notice that a lot of people are using the same stuff. So if you want to be a little more original, then do a little more time and work. But if you're in a pinch, let's say you want to get a recap of an event out really, really quickly, then look into the app, the editing app on your phone that you're using. If it's iMovie or Adobe Rush or another one, sometimes they also have audio tracks that you can use that are royalty free. Okay, so if you need something fast, use those. It's very limited, right? And you may not like the music.
Cool. So if you have questions or challenges, whether they're related to video or not, just something going on with your digital communications program, a gap that you have identified in your experience or knowledge, we're taking the next 20 minutes or so to answer your questions. I'll just do a quick recap. My name's Chris. I work on communications with Houston in Action. Most of my work is usually around planning and project management, and as well as messaging development and other strategic communications. So I'm happy to take on questions related to that. Nelson here is our local video expert. Screens of all sizes and productions of all sizes and budgets of all sizes. So I'm always impressed by how accessible everything that you share feels, Nelson. So thank you for that. So if you've got questions or challenges, please do feel free to jump in the comments and share those. We'd love to help you troubleshoot some of those. And then Evan is here. Evan works on a lot of our web-based work. Sometimes that has to do with data. Sometimes that has to do with web pages, email, and I'm sure there's other systems and implementations on the web that I'm not considering that Evan's working on too. What did I miss, Evan?
Yeah, just web.
All the web things. Cool. Yeah, so we do have a question. Francis, how do people perform video projects in this moment of physical distancing? Oh, I've got some thoughts on that one, but Nelson, it's your
sure. So that's a really good question, and I think it's an opportunity for people right now. We had a lot of friends that were bummed out that a lot of events got canceled, a lot of their shoots got canceled. But I don't know. I try to look at the positives of things. So right now, the great thing about everybody being online and on Zoom calls is that they're used to this. They're used to this kind of quality. They're used to these kind of shots. So it's pretty much and I know you all have probably seen some more commercials in your social media the same way. People are shooting commercials like this. They're shooting it with their webcam. They're asking a bunch of, let's say, first responders to give a little message. They'll record themselves on their laptop or on their phone, send that into the person editing it, and then the editor will piece it together with some music back to back. So it's crowdsourced video production. And to me, it's great. It's amazing. It was a friend of ours that did the Topo Chico campaign when they started digital, when they wanted to roll out digital first here in the United States. And one of the things that he thought of was, let's not get a professional photographer to do the images for this campaign, for Topo Chico. Let's not get a New York guy or an LA guy. Let's just start shooting everything with a phone. We'll start the content filming with the phone because this is what people are used to right now. So year one, he shot everything with a phone, all self-produced content. Year two, he started incorporating and asking consumers to go ahead and use and send in and submit some of their shots because he was noticing that people were doing amazing things with their phones. Year three, he weaned off his content and only relied on user-generated content. So user-generated content is probably one of the best and most powerful things that you can do in moments like this. When you ask people, hey, during your Zoom call at the very end, can everybody just get together and give me a shout out? Say one thing, a phrase, all together. Boom. Take that. That's gold. You know, those little moments, those pieces, everybody's used to it. They're used to consuming that kind of media. And it's easy to do right now just because all of our devices have gotten so advanced. So you can, to create really impactful videos, don't worry about using a big camera with a big lens and a whole production crew and a lot of expensive stuff. You can just focus on the content, focus on the script, focus on very powerful messaging, and then have people submit. If you want to do it all together, have a lot of people just submit things. And I think, Chris, we'll probably be working on some video like that, and we'll be rolling out some soon with new campaigns that we have coming out. But it's a great way to do it right now that we can't get a 30-person crew to come out with a spread and to do a shoot that takes 8 hours somewhere with a bunch of people. So
yeah,
that's one way.
Yeah, I was also just going to add that another thing that I know we've discussed and probably what we'll end up doing for these campaigns that you just mentioned was, in cases where maybe somebody doesn't have, we're working with all different folks from different scenarios, and maybe somebody doesn't have the latest and greatest when it comes to technology, like sending them, a phone or sending them a GoPro or something like that. And then walking them through the process, setting up a Zoom call to say like, hey, here's how you can set up some lighting. Here's how you can set up, the camera and the tripod that we sent you. And, here's the script we talked about or worked through. And I think that's the creativity that's kind of had to emerge because there's definitely there's still a need for, being able to create content and get messages out there, and we know that faces and people and stories are one of the strongest avenues that we have. So the ways that we can still do that are still important. Got a couple. I was also joking that with my partner Kristen, I was like, when I would always I remember being a kid and black and white was the thing that told me that what I was watching was old. And then I was like, okay, the generation of kids beyond that are if the screen is really narrow, it's not widescreen. It was 4:3 ratio. That was the sign that it was old. And now I feel like we have another marker. It's going to be this period of all this content that was created with this weird perspective, and everybody's staring at their cameras. Yeah. But we have a couple more questions. Thea wanted to know. When you're recording on your phone, is there a difference between shooting vertically or horizontally? And then Giovanni had a question, and Julia too. So we've got a couple lined up for you.
So let's go ahead and start off with Tia. Tia, great question. Vertically this way versus horizontally that way. Yes, there is a difference, right? Here's what we end up doing. first we shoot the highest resolution possible. So if you can shoot 4K, shoot 4K. And I would shoot horizontally if it's going on YouTube, right? So you have to think about your platform that you're going to end up uploading to. Horizontally for YouTube, vertically if you want to do Instagram stories, right? You can, if you're shooting 4K, shoot horizontally, frame everything in the middle. So forget the lower thirds rule. Everything is centered, right? And then it's going to get cropped. And just keep that in mind, that you're going to take your horizontal video, and if you're dead set on it being horizontal, then make sure that you're okay with it with losing these two parts of your video, because when you upload it into Instagram stories, instead of it being shrunken down, you can just expand it all the way up, and it's just going to chop off these sides. So there is a difference, and you'll notice the difference in quality. It will drop a little bit. My suggestion would be, if you know you're going to shoot something for Instagram stories, shoot it vertically. Okay. If you're not going to YouTube and you're going to do Instagram stories and Facebook, shoot it vertically anyway. Okay. The videos, they get more engagement whenever they're shot and uploaded vertically on Facebook versus horizontally. And it's just because they take up more screen space. So as people are scrolling, the video stays on a little bit longer in the screen versus something short like this that just goes by. So if you can, a lot of people are shooting vertically. There's also a setting for your phone to shoot like a square, I guess. And you can do that. But that's what we end up doing. So hopefully that answered the question, Tia. And there was something else. What program? Is that the next question? Let me see.
Yeah, Giovanni asked, what do y'all use to pull it all together? I shared from the list that we have in the Google Doc, but if you want to add anything to that.
Sure. So we personally use Adobe Premiere just because it's a great environment. If you start something on Adobe Rush, which is the app companion, and you start editing something fast on the fly, you can finish editing it on Adobe Premiere on your laptop, and it'll maintain all the cuts, and it'll make it a lot easier to shift things around. So Adobe Premiere is what I like, but it goes down to your preference, right? I mean, if you are a Final Cut person, if you're a Mac person and you love Final Cut X, then use that. The video editors have gotten so good that it really isn't, especially because you're outputting to social media, it's not as important. What kind of editor you use isn't as important as it used to be. So I hope that answers your question.
And just so you know, we'll also be adding all of this information. It's already in the presentation, but we also have a supplemental document as well that you can always reference. We're working on getting all that information onto our website so it's there and easy to find. But for the time being, we've got it in a Google Doc, and we have about 10 minutes left. Take any questions, challenges that you are running into, whether they be video related or related to your digital communications work in general. Julia, we answered your question in the chat, but for others that might want to know, the way that we're streaming today is through a service called StreamYard.com, and it allows for us to have multiple users and also display our screens and push everything to Facebook Live, which Zoom does some of those things for free. But its interface is a little bit different, and it doesn't allow you to interact with the Facebook comments as neatly. And here we're able to see your comments at the same, they're in sync with the recording. Whereas with Zoom, when you do that, the comments on Facebook are about 10 or 12 seconds behind, I believe. So this kind of helps pull everything together. And hopefully it's been a good experience for you. The only thing that we can't see, and I guess this is the same on Facebook, is if you are watching us, we can't see unless you make a comment and share that you're watching us. So we invite you to say hello in the comments so we know you're there. And if you want to share the organization you might be with, or more importantly, the reason we're here, the questions or challenges that you might be facing. Yeah. Nelson, I'm going back to Ruth's thought. I don't know if you want to try, if we don't have any other questions, if you want to try to demo that screen capture. I don't know if Ruth is still here or not.
Sure,
Although, wait, we got a question.
This is a formatting question.
Yeah.
So it says, can you use a video on TV that was made for social media? Does it need to be in a different format? So that's a great question, Jessica. I think one of the things I would worry about first, if you do have a video that has been on social media and you want to run it as a PSA, maybe on a local station, I would make sure that all the rights and licenses you have are okay. So if you downloaded some music, double check. Yeah, Giovanni, no worries, buddy. If you're downloading some music and you've used some music on your social media post, make sure that it's okay for it to be on broadcast as well. You may need to pay something different for that video. If you use stock footage, same thing. Double check the license, make sure that it can go on television as well as for social media. And when it comes down to formatting wise, you know, it used to be that stations would only accept a certain kind of format. It had to be at 30 frames a second or 29.95, and it had to be the aspect ratio of 16:9. And so since they switched over to digital, I think a lot of that has changed. Their ingestion is a lot more forgiving. So you can give them something that where the frame rate is 24 frames or it's 60 frames. What I would make sure is that, you know, you give them horizontal video, that it is aspect ratio of 16:9. Okay. So that looks kind of like this, the 16:9, which is the standard kind of movie look when you're holding your phone like this is what it looks like. And it has to be at least 1080p, right? Sometimes if you do something for social media and you're on Canva and you export a little video, it'll give it to you in 720p, which is a little smaller. So make sure your resolution is up at 1080. Make sure that it's 16:9 and your licensing is cleared. But
yeah, I just dropped in the comments that this was actually kind of a scenario that took place with the video that you worked on recently for Houston Action, Nelson, and I shared that YouTube link for folks who want to see it. Kind of all the things that have been discussed today: stock video, audio, like how do you do something in the time of social distancing? Maybe you mock some scenarios up and make it work.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to dive into that, that's a perfect example. So we had this project come up and we needed to make a video for an organization, Volunteer Houston, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, how am I going to do this? I can't really go and get people together and organize a shoot. I can't get actors. How do we pull this off? So we did have to get very creative with stock footage that we found, okay, that Chris provided. Some of his friends had shot from Hurricane Harvey. And then I figured, well, let's shoot the B-roll here at the house. We'll try to make every single room look completely different. And we had to get very creative on how we shot everything. But yeah, it's possible. It's totally possible. I think the outcome was really, really great. I think it's important to work on a good script. So Chris, kudos to you on putting together a really nice, solid, emotional script. And then we added the B-roll on top of that. So we didn't get anybody talking in front of the camera. We recorded the audio in a closet, okay? So the audio's in the closet. We lay that track down, and then we started putting B-roll on top of it. So we found some Houston stock footage. We put that on top. We needed some B-roll of hands typing, of somebody on the phone. So we shot that with a lens. That's well, I don't have it with me. It's an 85 millimeter lens, so it gives you a close-up, right? And then we also did some screen grabs like we were talking about. I straight up went to the website, got it up on a screen, and then I hit record to screen record me clicking through it. And that was the other part of the little B-roll that we used in that video. So completely socially distanced approved video production, but it's possible. It can be done.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, really, I think the thing that made the one thing that made the use of stock and the various B-roll that was created possible was that we just went with a voiceover. So as long as we were able to find footage that lined up with what was being shared through the voiceover, we were able to move more or less without actors, although we had some actors impromptu for some B-roll. Yeah, that's a great example.
Good example.
Yeah, so we just had another question about StreamYard, but I think that got answered.
I really like it, Chris. I think you were the first one to introduce me into this program.
Oscar, yeah.
Or Oscar, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really neat what you can do with branding. I've seen some Zoom lives and meetings that don't look nearly as professional as this. So this is a nice resource if you're teaching and you want to bring things up and bring them in and keep people engaged, or if you're having meetings with organizations or presentations. This is great.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Grace has a great point. She said OBS Project is another handy tool for screencasts and live streaming, and it's at obsproject.com, and that is absolutely free. So that is a super, super nice streaming platform that YouTube has a ton of tutorials on. So if you just type in OBS tutorial on YouTube, a whole bunch of information pops up, and it's free. It's really, really cool. So Grace, thank you for bringing that up.
Nice. Well, we're just a couple of minutes before the hour. If there are no other questions, I'm happy to give people 2 minutes to transition to their next live stream call.
Yeah, or maybe things that you all are using, tools that you want to share with everybody else. I think that's always important, that we all learn from each other. So if there's tools that you all are using that have really worked out for you during the socially distanced time, when it comes down to making video, go ahead and share them. There's tons of stuff out there, but we can only cover so much.
Yeah, great call. And, that's a good reminder, too, that this video will live on Facebook, can be, viewed anytime, and the comments always remain intact. So we'll try to capture some of the things that were shared in the comments when we upload this to YouTube, and make sure that people have access to them then as well. But, yeah. Do you want to sign us off, Nelson?
That's it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And join us next Wednesday. We will have another info session, right, Chris?
That's right. Yeah.
Cool. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Chris. Were you going to drop in the for next Wednesday?
Well, just one last plug. I was just going to share the link to the landing page for support hours, where you can see the full schedule of events and make your submission for our wildcard 5th event as well, what you might want to hear.
All right. You all have a great day. Happy Zooming.